The MVP Protoss is starting to the bottom right of the map. In red, we have, of course,
MVP Killer.
Just kind of a leader for the team, playing really well against Happy in the first round. He's up against the Zerg to the top left. A Kespa player took out MVP. He is
SK Telecom T1 Su.
and we talked about Su a little bit. His strength lies in his matchup against Terran and also in the matchup against the Zerg. He's up against the Protoss now. We saw him in the first round against a strong Terran player, against MVP. And if you looked at his preliminary matches in the Code qualifier, then this was already one of those situations where you could see that MVP might have a bit of a problem. Su was able to defeat Lida with a 2-0 and also STX Classic without dropping a single map, so two strong Terran players. And with MVP, he's now really on a win streak against Terran. Was also able to defeat Thorzane in Pro League, but now he has to deal with a Protoss player. And Killer has a lot of matches under his belt, especially against Zerg. He has roughly 90 games played, a 51% win ratio. And going down his match history, you see that in the preseason in the GSL, he lost to Sanai, one of the new players of Venezuela that made his debut against the team MVP. But against Action, for example, in the preliminaries of the Code qualifier, we had Killer take out a Zerg player with a 2-0. And also against Symbol at the last Home Story Cup where Killer attended, or at the qualifier, he did not really beat Symbol, but in a best of 5, taking 2 maps of Symbol is quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. It's really an accomplishment in itself. I mean, just the sheer skill of Symbol in recent days really indicates that he's got something if he can do that. Now, Killer here is just going for a Nexus first. On this map, I like the choice because it's a backdoor expansion. We don't see too many Protoss versus Zergs on this map, but usually when we do, we see the Nexus at the backdoor. And just to talk about Su for a little bit, you know, when I saw him this morning coming into the studio, he looked exhausted. He was actually sitting in the corner with a bunch of clothes over his face, I guess trying to get some rest, so he must have been up late last night practicing or something like that. So his condition does not seem as solid as Killer's right now, and that's just something I wanted to put out there going into this series.
Yeah, definitely has to make up for that. Here we go now, Cannon Gate at the wall for Killer. And Killer, with this performance that we saw so far in Code A, actually impressed me a lot. He was very shaky a few months ago, like 4 months, when we saw him for the last time. But now he seems very stable. And of course, thriving in the team environment of MVP. But look at those Zerglings. That's something that he did not account for. Suddenly, 3 Lings running into his base. Yep. Might get one shot off with a cannon. Not even one.
Not even one, and now he's going to deny mining here at this very important base with gold mineral patches. This is something that Su can easily mine from. He's double expanding right now, so Killer is going to get vision of that pretty soon, but he's going to have to pull some of his probes. His gateway is not even done, so the Zealot is a million miles away. And even with the Zealot out, it's quite difficult to defend against this, because Lings are slightly faster.
Could be much worse, though. I mean, this is currently... This are 3 Lings, 3 Zerglings. That's something that you can deal with good micro. You have to have the micro, and Killer definitely has it, is doing this quite well. But the problem for him really is that those probes are a little bit suicidal. They always try to get at the back of those mineral patches of how the pathing works, which exposes them to the Zerglings. So this is very annoying for Killer to deal with.
Oh, and he attacks the weak probe. That was a mistake. And Su is attacking the perfect location, like you said. When the probes stack up like that, it's not good. They can't fight in that choke point, and that's exactly what Su is trying to do here.
And he took down 2 probes. This is all that he has to do. He kills mining time, he takes down 2 harvesters. These are only 3 Zerglings, and they are already so annoying for Killer. This just shows that as a Protoss, you have to be so cautious about your wall. If this happens, you're already behind in the game.
Yep. 3 Zerglings for 2 probes, even money-wise, is a better trade. 75 minerals versus 100. This is well done by Su. And it's really Killer's mistake, but when you're a Zerg player, you always want to test the waters. Is this cannon ready or not? Let's find out. If it's not, you get this little advantage. The Lings are still alive. Until the Stalker is out, they will continue to annoy Killer. He's not going to be able to kill any more probes.
Those Lings are a huge pain in the rear now for for Killer. I mean, he even sees the tech, he sees the timings. We have the Robo before we see the +1 attack upgrade. All things that Su now knows about. So he is aware that there might be an Immortal push coming his way.
Yeah. And he needs to be aware of that because he's taken a very fast third base. He goes up to 43 drones now before the Roach Warren. And we'll probably add a few more because he's going to need that economy to produce the roaches to hold a push like this, especially against somebody who has that gold base at the back.
Oh yeah, you go at least up to 55 drones if you want to defend against an immortal push. Usually we see Zerg players even go up to 64 and then stopping their drone production. It's all a matter of which style you're trying to use.
Yeah. It's about the style and about the map distance as well, oftentimes.
Yeah. We have no immortal. We have additional gates, and we will most likely see a War Prism in composition with this.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that on this map, Killer would potentially go for a third base. It's just so difficult to hold a third on this map because the distance is far, and it's just a weird angle for the Pros to go over and defend against attacks. But, you know, he starts to look like he may be going for it. This is such a far away third. Look at how far that is.
And the Zergling knows what's going on. Didn't really see the Nexus, but he definitely saw the probe, and this move out only makes sense of the probe. The Protoss is aiming to get himself another base.
And Killer has no idea about these rocks being destroyed. He can't see it. He has no vision of the rocks.
Which is a little bit weird, because normally you see a pylon there.
Yeah. He heard it for a second. You know, when you look at a player's vision, you can see what they see and also hear what they hear. And he heard the rocks being destroyed for a moment if he was at that position. I don't think he was because he's still not reacting or putting any pylons down. These Lings alone are not going to kill any of Killer's units even necessarily, but it's annoying that these rocks are going to be destroyed, so later he can do some damage. And with these Lings alone, he could do a little bit.
Yeah, he can definitely get into the mineral line and take down additional probes.
Yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 probes. Killer is taking a crazy risky third base. We'll see if Su decides to punish or not. He could also just take his 4th, but on this map, taking a 4th base is like even crazier than I was taking a 3rd. Yeah. Look at the next base the Zerg could take. It's like, whoa.
He's going to time this with the units at the bottom right.
Oh,
here we go.
Perfect. He goes to the probes here. You're so right now. He goes into the 3rd base. There's a cannon that's well placed, but it's not going to be enough.
The cannon? Where?
Oh, in the 3rd base. Not at the natural. Well, oh, okay. I was like, no, there is a cannon. I swear. I'm like, am I stupid?
You botched this, Wolf.
I did. I botched it. I'm so sorry.
All right, we get you a Kelpie later, and then we try again.
Yeah, we'll try again later. The Killer is defending this pretty well, though, I have to say.
That was a really good force field. Look at that.
He will lose this sentry, but this forest was cleaned up. He loses only 9 harvesters.
And 2 of them were already killed by the initial Zerglings that run into the base early on.
Much better trade for Killer, who now has his +2. He has the robotics takeout. This next wave of roaches is going to be even easier to defend as long as he gets his force fields right because he has so many sentries. Su better not walk into that army. Killer plays a different style than you would expect a lot of the time, and I feel like this is making Su feel a little bit frustrated. It's not like he's making bad choices against Killer, but he's having to play a game that you don't normally play on this map.
Force fields are there, trapping a couple of those roaches. He takes down 2 for force fields for 2 roaches and buying himself a little bit more time. But now the double cannon is not ready just yet. Here come those roaches at the 3rd base, and Killer is still defending at the natural.
Yeah, this is a great trade at the natural, but he's losing a lot at his 3rd base. And he needs to keep these Immortals alive. There's no force fields going down. Looks like he's out of energy. In fact, he definitely is.
And now the roaches are closing distance. There's just no support.
Yeah.
Killer needs another round of Warbinds, but apparently the cooldown isn't ready. He loses everything here, caught in the middle between the natural and the 3rd. With this is why a 3rd base for Protoss is so difficult to hold on this map.
GG, multi-pronged attack, too much for Killer. He had the right composition, and for a moment there I thought he was going to be able to pull this off, but Su just had too much production with the 3rd base he took. If you let a Zerg take a base like that, if you're going to take a 3rd, you better be playing on Entombed Valley or Belshire Beach.
Killer with a good effort, but Su takes the game. Cloud Kingdom is going to be our 2nd map here. In game number 1, we saw Killer with the attempt to take a 3rd base. Did not work out on Icarus because of the distance between the natural and the 3rd. Was a long time for him. So, Su now trying to be a little bit more aggressive in this series so far. We have him with an impressive record against MVP. Was able to defeat in the first round of Kool-Aid the Terran LJM player with the 2-0, not dropping a single map. Now he's 1-0 against Killer. Might be able to close the series out on Cloud Kingdom with another victory. Or will Killer be able to force a game on Killer Flats?
Yeah. Looks like Killer needs to wash his hands or something like that, wipe his hands, I suppose. So he needs just a little bit more time, but we are going to start pretty soon. Just talking about that last game a little bit. It was really brave for Killer to go into a third base on that map, and the way he did it with his cannon placement, it looks like he's really practiced it well. You know, he had the cannon placed extremely well, but Su had so much production, and if Killer had not had to deal with those 3 Lings and the Ling run by at his backdoor expansion, I think he could have defended, but he messed up his mining too much. His build was not as crisp as it would have been. There were a lot of external factors.
Yeah, the 3 Zerglings at the beginning already throw you off so much. Every single seconds that you lose, it's just like a snowball effect. You start, you lose a second here and there because suddenly you don't have the minerals that you need. You had to pull your probes a couple of times, losing the mining time. So you lose second after second, and it just all piles up. And in the end, if you go for a timing attack, it will be so much later than it normally would be, and you feel very unconfident in your ability to pull that off. He might not even have thought of getting a third base in the first place. He might have just looked at the game and be like, alright, I'm going for a 2-base timing attack. Then the Zerglings run in, they are able to take down 2 of the probes, he loses mining, and he's like, well, if I go for that attack now, it's going to be so much later than I originally planned. If I do that, he's probably just going to butcher me, so I have to do something else. What can I do? Could try to take a third base. If it works, then I'm still fine. Can work with a 3-base economy, but Su just was ready for it.
Yeah, it was a tough situation at the end, no matter what, with those Lings in the base. Su is ready. Killer just finished washing his hands. We saw him walk by. He's going to go sit down in the booth, and we are going to start up Cloud Kingdom.
After Killer had to deal with all those roaches and Lings, he felt a little bit dirty.
Yeah, he had to go quite literally wash his hands in the bathroom.
He had to wash the smell off.
Yeah, too much creep going through his veins. Well, Cloud Kingdom is now the most important map for Killer, because if he doesn't win here, he doesn't have even the chance of playing on Akalon Flats, which is a map that's pretty decent for Protoss.
Yeah, Killer needs to take this game now. He wants to force a third game, and he has the ability to do it. But Su in general just looks really strong. I really like this guy. Impressive performance against MVP, great performance in his Code A qualifier, and he's just continuing this trend. He looks in great shape these days, taking the game off Killer now, and if he is able to win Cloud Kingdom, then I have to say, Luzira, for me, still the favorite in the 3rd round with what we've seen from him in Code A and in Code S. But Su, impressive.
Yeah, and I want to see what he does on Cloud Kingdom. Yeah, against Killer's mid to late game, Zerg players are going to feel pretty confident just because Killer is pretty weak during those times, generally speaking. And that's why I felt like Icarus was his map. That was the map he needed to take, and he lost it. He got affected by those Lings and the run by, and now he's in trouble. He's got to win here. Yeah,
and while we're currently waiting for the game to start, I want to give a quick shout out to Deletarius, who is apparently currently in the hospital with his wife and watching these games. So I hope that she's well or better soon. Hope it's nothing serious.
Yeah. Give her our regards. Going into this map, looks like the player's still not quite ready. Waiting on Songho, in fact. Killer.
But I thought he already washed his hands.
Yeah, and now they're asking him if he's ready, because he's not saying he is. They said say when you're ready, and he hasn't done it yet.
Su is already waiting. I can see him in the booth now. I'm actually looking for Killer, but he's hiding. Sitting around the corner. I could actually just stand up and double check. Do you want me to walk over?
Well, you can. Okay, he says go now. He's ready.
I could throw something at the glass and maybe...
I don't know what he was doing in there, but he's got to get his mind ready, I suppose. You know, wash your hands, sit down, get yourself ready. Map is loading now. It's on screen. We're going into match number 2, game 2 between Su and Killer.
He probably spilled something in the booth and was just cleaning us up. That would make sense when he washed his hands.
That could also have been the case.
Maybe he knocked his coffee over.